Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this little bit of Aramaic as we're continuing to study in Matthew chapter 5, and we're on verse 3. And looking at the Peshitta, as you can see on the screen here, it shows the Estrangela script and the square script underneath it. But as we're looking at the last part of this verse, we're looking at the words kingdom of heaven. You'll find in the Beatitudes, there's a lot of references to kingdom of God, kingdom of heaven, realm of heaven, and you find that that is supposedly the reward or the outcome from some of these Beatitudes. And so, what's interesting here is as we look at uh, Kingdom of Heaven, for me, it's a challenging term to come to an understanding of, to fully comprehend what is the Kingdom of Heaven. Just a little bit of background here is Matthew, who is thought to be the most Jewish mindset of writing. Um, Many of the ancient documents will ascribe to an understanding that Matthew originally wrote his gospel in Hebrew because he was Jewish, he was a Hebrew, and so his mindset of Hebraisms or Jewishness is very strong throughout the Gospel of Matthew, which you do not see in the other three Gospels. And so when you're reading Matthew, you'll notice that he uses this realm, kingdom of heaven, whereas the other Gospel writers will say kingdom of God. So there's a lot of concern, maybe, or try supposition, trying to guess why he did that. If you go through Matthew, you'll find that this term, kingdom of heaven, is used 32 times throughout the book of Matthew. What's interesting is this same phraseology is not used anywhere else in the Old Testament, and it's not used anywhere else in the New Testament. So it's unique to Matthew. What is interesting, though, is Matthew still does five times use the phraseology kingdom of God. The verse that we think of most rapidly would be Matthew 6 and 33, where it says, Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So there he uses kingdom of God. But everywhere else, other than those five times, he uses kingdom of heaven. And the fact that the other gospel writers do not use kingdom of heaven, but use kingdom of God, just brings about a different flavor of understanding. And it piques the interest as to, okay, why did Matthew do this? Some writers will say that, or commentators will say that he did this because he didn't want to invoke the sacred name of God, which is somewhat of a Jewish tradition that they will not say the Tetragrammaton, sometimes pronounced as Yahweh. They will not pronounce that or say it in their readings. They will use the word Adonai so as to not, in their mind, take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. So some feel that Matthew did this because he was writing mainly to a Hebrew Jewish contingency, and he didn't want to offend them. He wanted to, present things in a understanding where he would be accepted. So, is this really the reasoning? I'm not quite sure. We know that the term kingdom of God is used 70 times throughout the other gospel writers, and Paul uses it extensively in his writings also. So, let's just unpack this a little bit more. Let's take a look at the Hebrew Matthew and see if how that compares to the Peshitta as far as the words themselves. And at the top of the screen, you'll see the word Malchut and Hashemayim. So this is Hebrew and Malchut Hashemayim. And looking back and referencing at the Peshitta, we see this is Malchuta Dashmaya. So it's basically the same words, just in their Aramaic spelling, Malchuta and Dashmaya, meaning kingdom of heaven. So we're not gaining anything different. It's exactly the same words in Hebrew as they are in the Aramaic language. Um, but what I found a reference to, that I really liked, was the term of heaven. Of course, first shows up in the book of Genesis, where God is creating, and he creates the heavens and the earth. And a reference to what is the purpose of heaven. Uh, at least if we go back to the creation, we see that they did not have a full understanding of all of the scientific uh, basis for the different layers of the atmosphere. They didn't understand um, the realms of um, all of the planets and the galaxies and solar system and so forth. So, in a biblical mind, in the mind of that time frame, anything that was on the ground was called earth. Anything that was above the ground in a realm that wasn't touching the ground was called heaven, because it was up above the earth. And so, with that understanding, what is the purpose of the heavens? At least in the time of Genesis, it was to provide a protecting of the Earth. Of course, the atmosphere, as we know today, filters out the ultraviolet rays. It creates our weather patterns. It nourishes the Earth by allowing for humidity and clouds to form and the rain to fall and the winds to bring um, you know their movement and weather patterns and so forth. So the heavens were designed to protect and nourish the earth, providing guidance. The planets, the sun, the moon provided light and guidance. All of this is contained in the heavens. And so perhaps maybe Matthew was alluding to the understanding in Genesis of how the heavens protected and nourished the earth, that this would be the realm of those that were following after the Lord in such a way that these attributes that Jesus is expounding upon were active in them, providing a ministry of those to those who are upon the earth, that they would be, as we find other references, salt, we find light being referenced as to how believers should be, providing nourishment, providing flavor, providing a level of understanding of how people should live, and having a spiritual interaction and a spiritual affecting or influence upon those that are there, and very much like the heavens. And remember, the word for wind in Hebrew is the same as the word for spirit. It's called ruach. And so the heaven contains what? The wind. It contains the movement. It contains the atmosphere, the air, the oxygen that we breathe, that nourishes us and that keeps us alive. And so a lot of parallels here, I think, if we look at it from that understanding of the influence that we are to be upon this earth. Let's just take a look at Marcus Jastrows here and see uh, what his unpacking of this word for heaven is. You'll notice that the word malchut sounds a lot like the word melech. Those of you that may be studying your Hebrew, the word melech is the word for king. And so the word malchut, or to rule, is really based upon that word. And it makes sense, to have a kingdom, you have to have a king. And what does a king do? He exercises his authority, he guides, he rules. Many different ways you can unpack that word. And so there's a whole page here in Jastrows about just words that are based upon that word for rulership, to acknowledge the authority of. It's even consulting. There's so much within that that happens during the understanding of of leadership, of ruling, of someone who has power to make things happen in a kingdom. And so all of that just plays in very, very nicely to this understanding of, I believe, the kingdom of heaven, the realm of heaven is how I like to treat it, because kingdom we don't, relate to too well in our culture here in the United States. But if we think of the realm of heaven, the experience of it, all of the nuances of it, just looking up into the sky at night and seeing how all the planets and the stars and solar systems that are there that we know so little about, but we know they're there and they exist, but we're at a loss for really trying to understand them completely, and we're learning so much every time we study that, but yet to try to bring that into a realm of what Jesus was saying here and the impact and that we would have in such a way that maybe in ways we don't understand, maybe in ways that are beyond our comprehension right now, but allowing God to use us, to work through us. And of course, our main desire is to seek first the kingdom of God. There are so many distractions, so many things that would want to pull us in different directions, but to keep our eyes and our mind on the fact that we are here to promote the kingdom of God. His kingdom is all that matters, and his kingdom will reign supreme one day. His promises and prophecies will come true. Maybe we don't understand the timing exactly, but we know that they are coming to pass. And the main thing is to be kingdom minded, kingdom focused on doing the Lord's work until the end comes, however that comes, whether he comes again or things, how these Bible prophecies play out. There are many different interpretations, but the main thing is that we need to be kingdom minded and follow after the things of the Lord so that we hear him say, "Well done, thou good and faithful servant." So God bless you all. Thank you for being a part of this little study. Hope you come back next week and we'll continue in verse 4. Bye bye.